Go ahead. Julia Alos. Present.
Hi, Julia, are you there? We have five quorum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karen is an A, Kevin McLaughlin. An A. Pete Hendricks.
Here.
Christy Leekwan, present. William Sanborn,
Present.
Scott Nagata.
Here.
Ruth Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, take a look at the minutes. Oh, I should say the county officials and staff.
Oh, Warren Palmer, the planning department. And on Zoom, we have Ravello. And we're hosting our Zoom. And
Here along Deputy Corporation Counsel.
Thank you. Next order of business is approval of the minutes. The committee is to consider approving the draft minutes for September 18th and December 20th, 2023.
Yeah.
Is there a motion
Move to
to?
accept.
I think,
I'm gonna, okay, I second that.
thank you. Pete made a motion, second by Ruth. To approve the draft minutes for the September 18th meeting minutes, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Same process for the December 20th meeting minutes. Is there a motion to accept?
I so moved.
Thank
We
you.
second.
Ruth made a motion, second by Bill. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries to accept the minutes for December 2023. Regarding the first item on agenda, the general plan comments discussion. Is there any discussion regarding any committee comments?
Oh,
that-
excuse me, Chair.
Sorry.
If I may interject.
Go ahead.
Public testimony.
Oh.
Agenda item 3.
Okay, interested persons who want to provide oral testimony may do so now regarding the agenda items. Be mindful that you have a 3-minute testimony limit. Who keeps time?
Planning. I'm
Okay.
gonna keep time, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Jojo. I got my hand raised. Oh, cut me out again.
Jojo,
Yeah. Oh, there it is again. I had it up, sorry. Yeah,
It's all
I wanted to testify. Are you ready for testimony?
yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to testify about the pig committees. And I'm for Kauai High, I'm asking for some help on the evacuation road out of Kailapa subdivision. And I wondered if there was a committee or a member that would join the committee so that I can get to the meeting. The other one I wanted to join is if you have the pig committee for updating the CDP document, I'd like to join that one as well. Is that possible? Thank you.
Supply high water. But it was established in 2020. Neither of them are here anymore. So. Oh, excuse me, it says it's dissolved.
If I may, Chair,
Yes,
this is Deputy Corporation Counsel Kira Wong. I think at our last meeting in December, we had brought up the permitted interaction group tracker. And I think in discussions with Chair, we have a lot on the agenda today that's pretty time sensitive as far as providing general, comments to update the general plan. And so I think the focus of today's meeting is to figure out what comments the committee wants to take to the planning department. Although I will note that the extension, they did extend the deadline to April 1st. But I don't think this committee is meeting prior to April 1st after tonight. So what I have discussed with Chair is that we would focus on what's on the agenda today, and for subsequent meetings, we can take up again the issues with the permitted interaction groups. Thank you, Chair.
thank you, Kira. Can we make a note that Jojo would have made those comments or recommendations to be on those committees if they are created for the PIG?
And that Kevin Minister on the stage.
No idea the traffic was like.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Is that on our agenda?
Kevin is now present.
Is there anybody else to give public testimony? On Zoom? I don't see any, Chair.
Thank you. Hearing none. Is somebody make a comment? No. Okay. Okay, moving on to order of business. Regarding the general plan comments and discussion regarding any committee comments that the South Kohala CDP Action Committee wants to convey to the planning department regarding the County of Hawaii Draft General Plan 2045.
I have a comment. On the, let me just find the right place. This is for so, anyway, that, when identifying urban areas based on the 2020 census, there were 3. Kona, Hilo, and Waikoloa were all identified as urban. I didn't know we had such class in Waikoloa. But we're urban. And Waimea is not mentioned as urban. But Waikoloa is mentioned as urban. Anyway. There we go. It's right here under the land use, table 3 of the land use key trends. That's where it says that. A lot of interesting data in here. I didn't. Truth be known, I did not get through the whole thing. Is in the general plan is the question about the Daniel K. Noy Highway being extended down to the Queen K Highway addressed. Is it in the general plan? Is that mentioned? I mean,
I'm not. I can't.
it is, Michael says it is, okay.
I think if I may, Chair.
Sure.
At the last meeting, we had discussed potentially the committee drafting a letter, right, to the planning department based on today's discussion about what comments this committee would like to make to the planning department. So in order to assist or to facilitate that discussion in accordance with parliamentary procedure, I would recommend that someone make a motion to send a letter to the planning department director with the comments based on tonight's discussion, seconded, and then we can open it up to discussion. And then we can each go individually, if that is how the committee wants to work, with proposing comments, and then planning department would finalize that letter to be sent to the planning department after tonight.
As the chair, can I make a motion?
You cannot.
I can,
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
Second,
He seconded. Now we can talk about it.
So just for the record, moved by member Ruth
Ruth
Smith, seconded by member Pete Hendricks to submit a letter to the planning department with comments that the committee wants to convey tonight regarding the draft general plan 2045. Now we can discuss.
How can we meet and make, how can we meet and make a letter of recommendation? Being mindful of the sunshine law, do I as a chair reach out individually to provide,
So we have to do it in an open meeting.
okay,
Now, the deadline has gotten extended until April 1st, so the committee could actually meet another time based if planning department is available to facilitate that meeting between now and, prior to April 1st, if they want to meet again. It's already too late to create a permitted interaction group to research those things. So, I think a part of tonight is soliciting everyone's comments about the homework that they've done in reviewing the proposed draft general plan.
could we, go ahead.
I'll start with something, in looking through the plan online, there's so many comments from people, and they're all over the place. Some of them are very interesting and some of them are whatever. But there's lots of good feedback and input in there, and I would be wondering, how is the county going to respond to the feedback? Will there be some kind of like further round of review or discussion or something when all of that feedback is somehow reviewed by by planning and incorporated or not into the revised draft?
I think maybe planning department can move
Yeah,
to that.
okay. Just to clarify, I'm not on the general plan team, but based on what I've been hearing is this conveyor website where everybody's inputting their comments, so obviously, like you said, right, there's some suggestions that just speak to the ideas that are being brought up, even the grammar and punctuation, and then specific, corrections that people are looking for, and so this conveyor platform does. It uses a lot of. It can create a lot of reports for the team, for the general plan team, and kind of give, it can kind of break them down into terms of themes. So my understanding is that once they have all these comments together, they're definitely gonna be having several meetings on their own to see how they're gonna incorporate. Obviously, things like the grammar, things that can kind of go through kind of easily, and then taking the other things to kind of decipher how and what gets implemented or what gets changed as a whole before a new draft gets presented to the planning commission. So the details of that conversation, I'm not privy to, but my understanding is that once this deadline passes, they're just gonna kind of see what it even looks like before tackling what type of pathway to go forward with.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Is there, I know that,
Can you speak up? I can hardly hear you.
sorry, I'm not loud, I'm sorry. I'll try.
You want to conclusion?
So after all the feedback is integrated, I know there's been a long process, but will there be another round of public comment after that? This seems to have generated a lot of actual input this time. Finally.
Absolutely. My understanding of what has been explained of the process is that through this public comment period, after this deadline, the next draft will just go to planning commission. But at planning commission, it will be heard at both commissions separately, and there will be opportunity through that process for public testimony again. And again, like when it goes to county council. Yeah, that's my understanding. Yes, I'm complete.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead. Pete.
to start off with item 1, under subject letter, which we have approved to send, could I suggest that we put in a strong support for completion of the highway between Mamalahoa Highway and Queen Kahumanu Highway, to extend Daniel K. Inouye Highway, Malcolm 5.
2 separate roads, right?
One way from
Okay.
Amaloha Highway to Queen Kyle.
Oh, I see.
Just the
Okay.
extension of Daniel K to the ocean. I think that just puts it as an item because we've already agreed.
Is it,
And if we don't, let's discuss it.
okay, is it too? I guess I should ask, is it connected to Waikoloa Road at any point or no?
Yes.
It extends Daniel K and I Highway from Mamaloho Highway, Mauka to Queen Kahumanu. And that's already planned and talked about, but we just want to support it.
So the background on that is that they came out with three. They came out with three plans. One which came down and came to the Waikolo Road about a mile west of the main intersection. And it came on the Waikolo Road. We weren't very happy about that one. Then there was another one that came by and completely bypassed Waikolo Road.
I
So
think
we weren't
maybe,
very happy.
That's
with
why the
that.
yeah, I
recommendation
think
is
we
to
should just
clarify
keep
which
it
one.
generic. Say,
Yeah,
we strongly support the
Yeah,
connection.
but
I know the
I'm just
history of
saying
it.
that the final
Yeah.
thing is that it comes up and it literally comes over and kisses Waikoloa Road. And then it literally comes over about the same place that we're talking about merging onto Waikoloa Road, and then it zips over to the thing, so. That was the one that was most favored.
so knowing that we have had testimonies before, this is Christie speaking for those that is not present. Knowing that there was movement in discussions when Councilman Richards was councilman at that time with that impacts of, I guess, do we still just put it as a generic because there wasn't any movement or development, or do we just? I don't know how to. I guess what I'm trying to say is how do we? Because if we make the recommendation of the road, we know that it's gonna be like every other subject that we bring up that is in our matrix, for example, right, is continuing the roads or the plan. So how do we prioritize, being that it's too late to do a PID? In general, we would have the road connecting road from Daniel K. Inouye Highway to Queen K. We'll just leave it as that, as subject one, as on the letter of recommendation. I'm not sure.
If the committee desires to name an alternate, or rather a desired route, then that'd be fine too, then,
Okay,
okay with me.
I'm just thinking out loud that it says something like that that has access to Waikoloa, but does not use Waikoloa Road as the conduit.
No, if you're just trying to support it, I think that the state is, from what I can understand from traffic safety and some others, has already decided that that's a priority. So what we really ought to say is, let's just say the same thing. Let's say we'd like this to be a priority
Yes,
for the state to consider, and just leave it generic now.
okay,
Because that just gives the state the message that we've seen it, we've looked at it and all the rest, and we'd really like to have it happen. And then we don't have to worry about the alignment or anything.
thank you for your clarification.
I can only underscore how important that is to the traffic.
Well, not only is it gonna benefit Waikoloa, it's gonna benefit Waimea, because they're gonna have a connectivity that's probably gonna be used a lot more. So it doesn't look like a parking lot out here
Right.
as much.
What we were in.
And maybe this is the place for us, if we're talking about roads, to discuss the completion of a connector road in Waimea that everybody tries to call a bypass. There's no way it can be a bypass if all it's gonna do is connect one part of the highway to another part of the highway and create another intersection. But there's a big movement by the hospital, Parker Ranch, because Parker Ranch doesn't want to have to pay for putting a bridge over to Kamamalu, but the original approval by the council was to extend that road over to Kamamalu so that there'd be a second way around town. And if you really want to get rid of some of the traffic that connector over there would allow the people that are not coming from Hilo to be able to go into town and come back from town without having to go on Monmouth Highway. And that is going to be a county road, not a state road. And if you go back, was it 2008? Pete?
Mhm.
Yeah, and read it. They were, Parker Ranch was to build it, even if they're gonna job it out to some developer that's gonna be there, but the bottom line is the alignment should be to come a model.
That's in the county council documents,
Right.
2008.
And I think that the problem that I'm seeing is it's gotten to be political as opposed to what is needed by the town and needed by the traffic and needed by the people. Because there's no way, if they, the last proposal that Parker Ranch made and then withdrew was to have it connect to where the ambulance comes in and out on Mamalahoa. And that proposal didn't say it was gonna be a street, street, what's the word?
Signalized
Signalized, there we go.
intersection.
You know, there's a little bit that just doesn't come to the brain.
It would have to
And,
be.
and it has to be because it's on a curve. It's got a limited. So what that's doing is coming to a state highway. Instead of, and now you're gonna have 4 lights in the middle of town. And you haven't diverted the traffic anywhere other. I mean, the county council got it right. But a lot of administrations later and money and who wants what and all the rest has changed it. And so maybe we should take a look at that or ask for some definition as to how you're gonna do a second way around town. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, it could be another one, but keep it on, you gotta keep it on the plate.
Is the planning department able to pull the records from that for research or?
We can do some research on that.
Oh, that's all right. We have a copy of it.
I don't, so that's why I just
Yeah,
wanted to
let's
know,
look into that.
since we're new in this community, so.
Yeah.
I'd also like to make a comment in regards to housing. Understanding, or I guess supporting improved developments or housing period, whether it's for workforce or kupuna housing or in any subject of housing in our Waimea community specifically, knowing that we have the Benioff's donation to the Hawaii Island Community Development Corporation, right? So I don't know how to word it though. How do you word something like supporting housing development?
Sure,
Go ahead, Pete.
that's one of our implementation.
Yeah, I see that on 3.1, but that's done, or the
And
self-help housing and
3.2 and the
3.2.
nonprofit, next one down, 3.2.
So if it's actually because we're gonna update, if we're gonna update the matrix at future upcoming meetings, and that's gonna be post general plan revisions. I don't know how to reword it into our letter of recommendation.
So this would not fit as an input to the general plan. As a comment.
But the general plan does talk
Yeah.
about housing. What? No?
Like turning rural area, ag area into rural area or rezoning or. The general plan has new
Intended
highlight.
impact on the community, it just says more affordable housing for the Waimea community, but there are a couple of specifics here. Price per house and size of house, size of lot.
Yeah, so don't we have to we're not gonna have a chance to update this matrix by the time the draft is gonna be done, so I don't know how to make. Do we just not at word?
But about everything we're starting to talk about is. It's always, it's on the table, it's been articulated. All we really need to say is. We wanted a priority. You can have priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and maybe pick those things off so that we're not. Going a whole range of things. And one's gonna be housing, one's gonna be traffic and.
High school.
roads. Roads.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point on that. Anyhow, in my opinion, any high school is gonna end up in Waikoloa because of the demographics, because of the population and that such, even though the DOE has a site to build something up here already in there, under their control. But there's not enough students to be able to make it work. So that's what you're trying to say, is it should be done like a law.
Like it to be right in between, actually.
Well, that's where we had looked, like, but the pushback actually comes from Kalakahi High School and Honka.
Yeah, because you'd be taking from their
Absolutely.
student body and they'd
And the
be,
majority of the people at Honka are from Waimea.
yeah,
There's a lot more people going over. So when you pull Waimea out of Honka, and when you pull Waikoloa out of Kalakahi High, you're bringing 300 kids.
yeah,
So you're bringing a whole bunch of kids here. So that has always been the tension, is the domino effect that has. It's clearly a benefit to the Waimea and the Waikoloa people. But the domino effect in the other cases, because they have, Kalakahi has a 52-acre campus. And they're pretty established, And then, but like, and as I say, Honolulu, the majority of Honolulu is Waimea. Because it's a much bigger town than Honolulu. So that's where the volume comes from. See, that's where this gets really muddy fast.
yeah, it's always been known that the student body in Honokaa fluctuates between positive and negative because of the attendance and the students. And that would devastate that one completely. Kalakahi could probably recover somehow, but
Yeah, and
Honokaa could.
Honokaa would be the much more severely impacted, and it's a much smaller school. I don't know what I think it's about, I don't know. The intermediate and the high school together, I think, are about 800. Oh, Miss Kalakahi is close, well, I don't know what it is right this minute, but 1,400.
So that's also on our matrix on 3.1 under Waikoloa.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know.
Sure, if I can say something for.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Maybe a strategy, considering where we are on the timeline and submitting this letter, is maybe it is to kind of go down these strategies and highlight ones that you guys want to make sure are incorporated or, not forgotten in the general plan, even though these are, community development plan strategies that, they have their place in the general plan also, and the overarching zones. So maybe that's a strategy, considering where we are, that, and then it can be referenced, the letter can say, strategy,
Waimea Town Plan
Yeah.
3.1.
yeah, 3.1, high school,
Page
all of that.
115.
And, as, relevant to this, was 2008, so, these are still relevant and actionable items.
So
How do we address public comment? Right now, there's no discussion.
Oh, you know what? We can pause. We were supposed to ask for public comment before getting into the agenda item. So is there anybody who would like to give public comment right now on agenda item 1? Okay, what's your name, sir? You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
What's your name?
The amount of people that are going into each area, that's what you guys gotta really
you
figure
need to
out.
introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is James Kong.
Thank you.
It's kind of senseless to make all these proposals, but you don't know how many people, and like Waikoloa, there's a big influx of younger couples and there's low income housing. So you're gonna have a big influx of people, right? So, and I don't know what the demographics is for Honokaa or Kealakekee. I'm sure Kealakekee, they have the new project that's coming on Hinolani, that community housing there, so they're gonna absorb some of that, right? But as far as building on a school, if you don't realize that Honokaa there's no development upcoming, it's gonna be really a dying school. It's like Kanuki High School and Kalani High School in Honolulu. Because the population is fixed and it's all older people. There's not, they wanna close some of those schools because there's not people coming to that school. So you have to, make up your mind and put the development plan to accommodate the kids, not having to drive 20 miles one way and 20 miles back, you know what I'm saying?
Anything else, James? No, okay, that's referencing Department of Education. I have something else.
Oh, okay, that.
Just in response to addressing him, I can address.
Okay.
The reason I understand that is because it's the same concept as Lacohoy School. When the demographics of the age changes, I'm actually from there, I'm a graduate of there, and I do live in Dry Side, Waimea, where our road is a cutoff for Honokaa. However, we understand, I've been on board to have a high school in our district for many, many years, knowing the complexities of what we just had explained. But I just wanna take note that I do hear your comment.
Thank you.
Go
I
ahead,
want to say one more thing that I said when we wrote the plan. Was that this is a county plan. And schools are state. So we put it in here because it was. We didn't want to have to fight the people who really wanted it in here, but actually. If that is a state issue, it's not a county issue. So that also makes it that much more, we can say what we like. But. Our muscle on these things is at the state level, not at the county level.
Jared, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Bill.
There's a lot of the nonprofit schools and colleges and all that stuff are doing different campuses. Is there a way that Honokaa High School could actually have a Honokaa portion and Waimea have a portion? Because the DOE has enough land here to have an adjunct like that, and most of, or a lot of this stuff is starting to be remote. So, they do Zoom meetings and do stuff like that, so there is a chance that the new way of education could be doubled up so that we incorporate, but we don't get rid of the campuses.
Is
I
it
mean,
something?
it's just an idea because I mean, it's not like you have to go out and find land to put it on, it's already here. And if most of the people that are going down there are from Waimea, there could be some people go on the green side, go down there, and the people on the other side have a campus up here. Anyway, it's just an idea. It's not going anywhere because we're county, we're not state, so
Right.
let's move on.
I do understand that the people, the children who, the kids who play sports in high school level for Kanuokaina joins Honokaa High School. Yes.
Yeah, the Hawaiian immersion school
Yes.
also, I'll look out, also their high school is under, the satellite.
Yeah.
So they could
It
expand,
exists.
they could
exists, yeah.
expand, on the DOE up here with the middle school and the high school, yeah.
Excuse me, Chair, before we move on, can we just wrap up public comment period on this agenda item 4.1? I think Mr. Kowitz would like to give public testimony.
Okay. Go
Do I
ahead.
need to come up or can I just sit here? Okay. My name is Michael Conaway from Waikolo Village. The testimony that I share with you today is as you think of the letter that you'll draft and send to planning. Think big picture and big ideas, especially in your list of letters going, in your list of requests going in your letter to planning. My priorities and priorities that I hear a lot from the community are anchored around affordable housing, infrastructure as it relates with roads and infrastructure as it relates with wastewater. So ultimately, this plan brings us to 2045. So if tomorrow is 2045 and we were looking back to today, have we put things in place to make sure that in 2045, we have abundant affordable housing, roads that get people around safely, and do we have wastewater control systems to manage wastewater from a growing population? I've heard lots of evidence that there's plenty of water, but I haven't heard plenty of evidence that we know how to deal with wastewater. So my recommendation is for this board to take a look at what the big top line priority should be. And stress that through your letter of recommendation to planning what those priorities should be, so they can implement that.
And
Thank
then,
you.
oh, thank you, Michael, for your comments.
Anybody else?
James, Patty?
Anybody on Zoom, public testimony?
Councilwoman Evans.
I have one comment towards this thing.
Oh, James.
I think Cindy was trying to get attention.
As far as what you call, it, is there a requirement for a developer, if they're building new developments to provide water for a community, like a drilling a well or anything like that? That's part of the big picture. Right? You need to get water to supply all the homes that you're gonna build, but if you're just gonna take from the existing resources, it's gonna strain the system. It's like a Waikoloa Village, they're building there, what, 600 units of affordable housing on the north side.
You're talking about at the Waikoloa Heights?
Or Kamapuanui.
Well, Commonwealth movie has, they have an expansion coming, but it's not that large. It's not that large, I think.
But I mean, you should talk for
I understand.
big picture, twice as much as what you need. Or 10 times as much with, because the whole area is gonna be developed in 20 years.
Right.
Chair, I think, Councilmember Evans had her hand raised.
Okay, Cindy, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I got in late. I had a group of people here, and we just broke from a meeting, but, if we're talking about the general plan, the protection of, our environmental, the environment obviously is always important when you do stuff. There's been discussion, about riparian setbacks. And actually if people are gonna be building homes, especially in South Kohala, that there's a real sensitivity about how close they should be to our streams and our gulches, and that maybe that we should consider setting some riparian setbacks, which we don't currently have. That might be something to consider. The other thing to consider is, like in Waikoloa, for example, and the stormwater runoff and how the flooding down into the gulches and the streams is actually overflowing the community of Puako, and that we're getting brownouts into the ocean. So whatever is happening when we start building and hardening our services with these housing projects, that we really start emphasizing the need for the county, with maybe the Corps of Engineers and the federal government, to really start honing in on the stormwater runoff and these amazing flood events, which are getting more intense and more often. And they're causing real havoc to our environment. So I think that, that might be something to also consider.
But the next one I do. I think
Thank you, Cindy, for your comment.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Add to that, actually, I really,
Can you say your name?
I'm sorry, I'm Avalon Parading. Yeah, I really appreciate that Cindy brought this up, because I grew up in and continue to reside in my Kohala village. And I haven't read the full general plan from top to bottom just yet, but even just hearing you folks talk about this connecting road idea, for example, from Nenoke to Ka'ahumanu. This sounds great, but I can say that as an environmental scientist, I have walked a lot of Dinah in this area before. And it kind of blows me away that there isn't more discussion about the fact that we do have these ephemeral stream systems throughout that area. And these are very important, not just ecologically, but also culturally speaking as well. I think that we really need to make sure that local environmental scientists are being hired to assess these areas for EISs or AISs as well. Because I think a lot of, I'm just thinking, especially in terms of the new shopping center in Waikoloa Village, it was put in a really bad area. It's right in the middle, basically, of Awaiakea Gulch, quote unquote, which runs every year, and they just got that big flood about a year ago in this new shopping center, which you know, if somebody's doing their due diligence, that shouldn't have happened. That whole area shouldn't have been built there, in my personal opinion. And I'm just looking at how close that new housing area is gonna be to Kohala Gulch, and I'm imagining a lot of rubbish from people living in that area, getting into those stream beds and possibly flowing down to our oceans, polluting our environments. Yeah, again, just, I think it's really important. My main focus here is trying to hire local people to do these assessments of these areas, not outside contractors.
How local do you recommend, just from on island people?
People who have at least gone to school in Hawaii, at the very least, and have lived here long enough that they are able to assess these areas with a real caution for the cultural resources and the natural resources in these areas. Ideally, people who grew up here. I would really like to see more people like myself get hired for these kinds of jobs. But at the very least, people who have studied in Hawaii and know our resources will want to be able to.
Well, see, the only part about that is, like, the problem we have in our state government, they hire people
Chair, I think you
from the
can.
other islands, and they have no idea what happens
So
here.
That's a really
Keep it
good
on
point.
task.
I appreciate that. You're right, probably keeping it on island as much as possible. Yeah. Yeah. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion or public comment? Hearing and seeing none. Back to our discussion as a committee in regards to a subject matter of priority. Yeah,
I'd like to, can
go
I
ahead.
talk about housing?
Yes.
So we have a quite a challenge where we don't have enough housing. But when we build housing, it comes out to be very expensive, so it's not affordable. And some of the factors into that are that it's difficult to get the land rezoned, get the land subdivided. When land is rezoned and subdivided, the county adds infrastructure development requirements to the developers, which is good because we need the infrastructure, but the developers don't really pay for it. All that cost just gets added to the price of the homes plus margin, right? So now we're getting, if you build a house in Waikoloa right now, even without infrastructure there, it's still gonna be a $600,000 or $700,000 home, right? But now if you look at Waikoloa Heights, they're looking at $1 million homes. This is ridiculous in terms of the local community. And so what we need is a large scale effort on behalf of the county to make land developable for homes without the cost basis being so high that you're already looking at, say $500,000 or $600,000 right out of the gate, no matter what they build. Just because they have to build the roads, they have to build the underground utilities, they have to do whatever other improvements they have to do, such as, parks, and they have to do maybe infrastructure like schools or whatever. These things could just get tacked on, right? So, in a perfect world, the infrastructure would be free, and then you could just build homes and they would be the real cost, right? And then people could actually afford the homes. But anyway, so things that are used in other places to solve this problem is you build high density housing, because high density housing is less expensive per unit than single family homes. Right, and I personally prefer single family homes, but when we have this kind of situation that we have, you need high density housing, so you need multi-story call them condominiums, but it's apartments, things that people can buy. You need multi-story, you need high density. And although, people probably wouldn't like it, it will be if we really care about creating a lot more housing that is affordable, we need to share the burden of the infrastructure across all of the people that live here, not just the 500 or 1,000 people or homes that are going to go into this one new development that's going to have all the costs of the infrastructure there, which is going to make it unattainable for the people that live here. So that means the county funding the infrastructure development, right? And we know that money comes from taxes or something like that, but like at some point, we're in a situation here on this island where it's not going to fix itself. We're not going to be able to keep charging infrastructure costs to developers and then expecting we're going to get affordable housing out of it. We're never going to get it. So I would say, we need to look at some new strategies for creating affordable housing that is not just the, like, say, federally subsidized affordable housing or government, state subsidized affordable housing, because those have, we all pay for that in our taxes anyway, right? So why don't we pay in our taxes for the infrastructure to make, thousands and thousands and thousands of homes instead of what do we get? We got 62 in Waikoloa affordable units. I mean, it's not solving our housing crisis. We need many, many thousands of housing units. So, anyway, this is the subject that I think that I would like to highlight, if we can agree on it for planning and for the county.
I'd like to make a comment if I could. Go ahead. About taxes. Everybody fusses about taxes. But when tax money is well spent, your car does not need as much repair because it didn't get juggled to death en route to wherever you're going, right? If your time is of any value to you, right? I mean, we're out, when we don't pay in taxes to do the infrastructure we need, we pay in other very significant ways. And that's just a general comment I'm gonna throw in there, but taxes are not the enemy of people. There is not, oh my God, they're raising taxes. For what purpose? It's like when I go to a doctor, I say, why are we doing this procedure? What will I know then that I don't know now before I spend that money? But you just have to look at what it's for. I don't think we do a very good job of promoting the importance of it's taxes are the cost of a civilized society. I'm sorry, they just are. And, when we get all knee-jerk on that, we sometimes just literally, take away all the time that people would have for the kids or something, if they weren't just busy.
Sure.
Go ahead, Bill. Thank you.
You bring up something that has been systemic from the state and from the counties. And that is that they don't think they have to put in infrastructure in. They're gonna job it out to whatever person comes in and tries to get a permit to do something. And if you're trying to handle the housing, which the county says is generally everywhere, they should be looking at bond issues. They should be looking at something that says, we are going to put in the infrastructure. And if they have to do that, it means that they have to start looking at zoning collectively, not specifically. Because right now, they react. Instead of acting, they're reacting. And the reacting is, well, you submitted everything that you had to do because you paid a consultant to do it correctly. And so we don't see any reason, even if the neighbors don't like it, and we're just mowing over conservation land, farming lands, and not putting the green belts in or doing something like that. So if you really want to send a bomb over there, the bomb is, why don't you start thinking about housing collectively for the whole island and not specifically for developers to come in?
I had something to.
Go ahead,
That's a great
Kevin.
statement. This is the, thank you for mentioning that, because in my rambling, I didn't catch I forgot all the things, right? That was great. So if we are serious about housing and conservation and the other things, the best thing absolutely to do would be to deliberately choose the areas where the development should be done responsibly, build the infrastructure there, and then it will happen there. Right now, as Bill's saying, it happens wherever somebody has the money to buy the land and pay for all the consultants' fees to do all the engineering reports and all of the environmental impact studies. And that's where we get development. And then it's not where we want it necessarily, right? Because it's just happening wherever someone can get it.
Well, as I said, it's the way it was done for development, just like we had a whole bunch of monopolies in here because they needed them to be able to grow, but now we have to transition. And the transition is, everybody's talking about housing. It's not just Waimea, it's not just Waikoloa, it's the whole island. So the answer is, I would think that that the reason why we don't have a township, which would be good because we'd be able to watch it. The county doesn't know, they're just gonna react. I think that's the biggest thing, they're reacting and not acting. And if this is a general plan, in the general plan, you should say, you need to take responsibility for this, otherwise you're gonna have the same thing that happened over at Hove and Puna, was somebody came in, bought land, bulldozed it and sold it. And the county allowed it to be done, and then all of a sudden they went, oh, there's no infrastructure out here, I mean, we have to do this.
Thank you, Bill, for your comment. I did attend the Hawaii Island Coalition Housing Coalition with in conjunction with Vibrant Hawaii last week, I think. And there is discussions from Kendall that he had advised on what they're trying to do in regarding to lot sizes. And ADUs and the other dwelling units. And how we can keep urban and country and do responsible development and subdividing lots. So I guess, I don't know how, I don't have minutes for that meeting yet because it was just last week, but I think there is a process that the county is looking into in subdividing I think before it was required to be a 10,000 square foot lot or something, and now minimalizing to be able to half that. Even to understand the structure, not structure, but the structure for the loan applications for the state land, ag lands, for example, like Hawaiian Homes in Lalamilo over here. If you get awarded as a beneficiary to get loans, they don't recognize Ohana housing, right? So they're trying to see where they can implement that kind of, I guess, building codes to have that kind of loans, I guess, opportunities in place for that. Because you have to, according to Steve Paul said that to qualify for, you have to have a workshop on the ag lands in Lalamilo. As a beneficiary as well, you would have to maintain that unless, you know, if you don't have one, then technically they could take it away, but, which is sad. But, you know, if even with the age limits in Hawaiian homelands, if you're a beneficiary and you old, I mean, nothing against the older individuals, because my mother has been on the list for 40-something years and we've never been awarded a property that was affordable. But in that capacity for Hawaiian homelands, it's it's kind of mandating the next generation to have to have quote unquote an operational workshop to continue to pay for that loan or qualify for that loan. So yeah, that was just a comment though, an experiencing.
I want to say something before I forget it again. So the website where this is being done, I couldn't access it.
Oh, Conveo, I couldn't either.
Yeah,
I know that.
it says you go to register, but there's nowhere on register that you can click. So I could not get into it to make a comment. So somebody needs to look at that because I don't know how people got comments in there, but I couldn't.
I know according to the Facebook post at
That's
the
why
beginning of this month. Yeah, the beginning of this month, they posted, planning department put it on Facebook. And our district had only 20 comments in our district. And I said, how do I access to see what people have written? And I wasn't able to see prior to this meeting to see if we could reference anything somebody put on there. So I wasn't able to sign on Conveo either. Do you know if the planning department is working to improve that?
Yeah, I think whenever that happens, please, reach out. Can you send an email to the general fund email or, I'm not too familiar. I've not actually gone and entered comments or anything on the platform, but.
Let Beth know. Beth mess happening worse and know that. You actually can get in on
She's
that.
with a
Reassigned,
different-
yeah, department.
She left
She's with
us.
us there now, yeah.
She's where?
The Office of Sustainability, she's the interim administrator there.
Oh, Lord help us. Okay.
What is
I
the
think Avalon
deadline
and a
for
Brooklyn.
public comments?
They just extended it, I believe, to April 1st. April 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I've heard all the comments made today. Do we make a recommendation to go follow what Miriam had proposed to go down each line and I guess say we want to prioritize this and this and this and this, or I don't know.
Then
Scott,
I sent-
anything from you, Scott, today? No?
I'm learning as I'm going here.
You better learn fast.
Yeah.
Chair, you also have member Olives online too, if she has something.
Julia, you have any comment?
I had gotten, that Julia's having some technical issues. Julia, was that able to get resolved or? Yeah, okay. I have a comment here that got forwarded that Julia had sent in that, previously, I'm assuming when we were having our school conversation. That Waikoloa has land allocated / dedicated towards another school. It's debatable whether it will be an elementary school or a high school. Wastewater is excluded for Waikoloa in the, some draft general plan. But, yeah, that's what she's having some. Other issues. Feel free to check.
Perhaps
on
we
that.
could go section by section and ask if anybody has anything they'd like to highlight from any of the sections. We need to go line by.
Okay. The recommendation is to go a line item on the matrix that was on your minutes from December 20th, 2023.
Do you need a hard copy? I have.
No, no, good.
Okay, do you need another hard copy?
Yeah.
Does anybody else need a hard copy?
Full story with one man.
Starting with Waimea, Bill.
Well, 1.1, 1.2 and 2.1 pretty much could be incorporated. Into the fact that we need to be aware of preserving. The hillsides. Preserving the ag land and preserving the open spaces. And when I say open spaces, I'm gonna say that that's probably going to be based on view planes and based on cultural and historical sites that need to be preserved. And I think that there's a lot of activity from private land people trying to do this and all the rest, but I don't know where we are with the hillside of Buster Brown, which if you look on the map, it looks like it was already platted to be able to be sold as lots. And I know there was an effort by people to try to stop that, but I don't think that the zoning was ever changed, and I don't think that the county ever cemented in the fact that that should never be developed. And that's on the county can make the move themselves to try to change that and solidify that or put it in there. So I would say that with these three items right here, if we could just find that situation for preserving the hillsides and the grading and things like that, we might find that there's already some, some history on that we could solidify as preserving and take away the zoning or the platting that's there, because it's always, who owns it? It's not all, it might be Parker Ranch, it might be somebody else. And so they'll be there and all of a sudden come into the county and say, well, you said we could do this. And the county's got to take a look at that. So that would be, from our perspective, would be a very important one that would be all encompassing.
That's 1.1, 1.2, 2.1, and 2.2.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was just gonna suggest, has that been proposed for punk purchases?
We're just starting to look at the pump stuff, and the only one we've submitted is for Manikiole Park, the 10 acres that's back there. We wanted to go for the 60 acres that Parker Ranch was selling. That was the parcel that was supposed to be District Park Complex, 2nd edition, and county never pursued that. But in looking at it recently, the view plane that we were really trying to preserve is going to be the parcel between the 60 acres and the townhouses, and the townhouses over there,
By
which,
Pukalani.
yeah, which includes some of the old ranching, stables and stuff in the back. And that would be more of one that would be best to do. That area is a flood zone. You know, unless a consultant comes in there and changes it for going into the county. But the view plane would be the best on that. And we're looking at identifying other ones that we can come in and do punk. Have you done punk down in Waikoloa at all?
And the Waikoloa Village Association owns most of the
Oh, okay,
land around it.
So
It's pretty
they are
well
the
buffered,
punk, yeah.
basically, yeah.
but they could always change their mind on what they were doing, right?
Fortunately, that's hard.
Okay, anyway,
Okay, thank you, Bill.
All right, one question. All these lands that you're talking about here, are they owned by the county? Or
No.
who owns them?
well, some of them are Parker land, some of them are state property, some of them are privately owned. Some of them are Hawaiian homelands.
So the goal is to acquire the lands, is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what Ponk's for, is the 2% fund of the taxes to do it, but, and that's the closest thing we have to, if it's approved and if the county gets it, we actually have some form of home rule. Because you're gonna have some nonprofits and some people locally that are gonna have to maintain that parcel. Some nonprofits and things like that, so you have a little more control for your district with a pond. But, they can go in for easement, preservation, preserving easements and, cultural things and all the rest, but the best thing I can say is that Kohala and Javi have done an excellent job of that because they were a plantation town and the people that stayed over there decided that they wanted to take part in their township and their areas over there, and they have. Unfortunately, we are a corporate town.
Like
And,
Honolulu Valley Association, they have their whole volunteer.
yeah,
That takes
yeah.
care down there too.
and so we have a late start to doing this, but that's what we're trying to do. And through the CDP and through nonprofits that are here to try to do that.
I have a comment. Is it possible to,
I think your order of order at this time, we're trying, if you could hold on for comment. James. Anything else on to the action committee in regarding to priorities? I'd like to maintain the self-help housing one because we know that there is future development below my area. I do live in the self-help area. I did buy a home for not what it says there. But we're hoping to maintain that opportunity. So I'd like to maintain that housing project.
So 3.1 and 3.2 together,
Yes,
okay, housing.
go ahead, Pete.
4.1, this is another county-state marriage. We went through a long process in the last couple of years. The consultant was SSFM, and this is in regard to urban improvements for walkways and bikeways and traffic in the middle of town, essentially from Pukalani to Opella Road. And it looks, we're suspecting that the state is going to go ahead with the improvements, but I'd like to get that on the record. Just supporting that process, because it's pretty far along,
Okay.
but we haven't heard much. More dedicated left turn lanes, some widening within the right of way. Better pedestrian safety and things like that, for the whole center of town.
SSFM, that's who we lost Heather to, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
They did the whole thing. We had a series of 5 or 6 public meetings.
Yeah. that was at least one of the people.
I'd like to make sure that doesn't go away.
Okay, moving on to the Waikoloa Village Plan. Kevin, Julia, Ruth from the area.
Gee, a second access road, what a great idea. Now we kind of wrestle back and forth between whether to be noisier about that or noisier about the extension of the dam pay. Because it's, even with a second access, that other one is really important, especially in terms of traffic.
Yeah, military.
The second access road,
Hmm?
the second access road may actually happen now.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, that the mayor's gonna do something, so I'm like, way thrilled about that. And
Or
then,
the, or the developer will.
yeah.
Back
But
out.
we never
That'll
even,
never
I mean,
happen.
I asked, I think at one of the meetings earlier that we
But that's
see,
good.
because they had that memorandum of agreement between Waikoloa Heights, Waikoloa Village Association, and whatever that last one, that next, well, it used to be Puako 1010, but now it's Kamakoa LLC or something like that. It's the same piece of land we've always been talking about, but it's got a different name. And what we never, and that was done, should have been done May of last year. Because the memorandum of agreement went from May 1 of whatever last year was, 2022 to 2023. Is that right? Yeah, because I've asked a question about seeing that before. And just seeing what they found, because they did a feasibility study. I'm saying Waikoloa Heights initiated it. And as to where that is, I mean, it's weird if the village association was part of it, it's kind of weird that we haven't had access to that.
They asked. Developer would like the owners of the other parcels to share in the cost, but I think that they're not particularly interested.
Yeah, probably not. Does that mean they're gonna keep it private?
No, it can't be private, but it's just whether they will actually build the road. or
Oh, no,
not,
no, yeah.
Right? So if they're gonna build houses, they have to build the road,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't want to pay for it themselves.
I see that it wasn't the cost of the feasibility study, it was the cost of the entire thing. I get it. Well,
So which is your priority?
1.1, 2.1, or 3.1, or all. Maintaining all as is. I don't know. Because 1.1 is that goal,
In the timescale of like now to 2045,
right?
I think that the DKI extension in the school, well, I know the school's bad. It's not a county issue, it's a state issue, but. Those would be more important.
well, and also parallel to this, another state matter, which there's a meeting on tomorrow night in Waikoloa on the library. Okay, so with the library looking like it has traction and a location in Waikoloa, the librarian who is coming to Waikoloa Village tomorrow evening for a meeting to go over it. The design of that library, they've been great about incorporating the community's needs and the lack of a community. The only community center in Waikoloa Village is Waikoloa School. That's it. That's where everything happens. And when there's a meeting of any size whatsoever, that's where it has to happen, because otherwise you're
That's the only county.
and you're in this room that the village association has that's about this size, so you can't have a meeting, right? There's not really a community center. The library in their planning, and I'll know more about it, there's actually Dave Tarnas had something on his website that I was looking at. But that's going to do something to address the 2.1, finance and construct a community center and community park. We have gotten, since this document has been in place, we used to have a park and now we have parks. We have a park at the end of Ho'oko that was not here when this document was written. And we have the park that's over in the Kamakoa Nui area. That's, you've got a ball diamond and you've got a soccer field and you've got stuff that we never, when both of my kids were playing soccer, I mean, they were good and then they were older. All of the games were away games. We didn't have a single field in Waikoloa that you could play whatever, I can't, Division 1, I think it's Division 1 that's highest, and 6 is the little short kids who like pigeon soccer, I call it. But anyway, wherever the ball is, they go over. But that improvement has happened. We've got much better park facilities than we did. We still don't really have a community center, so, but the design that the library has looked at, I don't know, I'll know more after tomorrow, what the size of the meeting rooms are. You know, they have ones that would be like for Boy Scouts and the smaller ones, right? But I don't know what the largest room is yet, but that may alleviate that to some extent. So, I would say that second access stays there, even though that's not specifically under Waikolo. And where does did we even put that in the extension of the Daniel K in 2007 and 8? That may have been not on our radar. I actually don't remember lots of discussion about that as we developed the CDP. I don't remember. That could be a function of many things,
I
including
don't recall
old
it being
age.
specifically.
I don't think it's specifically in there because that was how long ago it was.
Okay, thank you for your comment. What about 3.1
We talked about the school.
for the school for the DOE? Okay.
Yeah.
Kauai High Community, moving on to Kauai High Community Plan.
Okay.
We should be hearing from Jojo. No, you know what? I looked at this and just an outside observation. I think that 3.1 is really just something that state needs to deal with. I think 2.1 is the same kind of a thing, because if I remember Karen saying that they aren't waiting for the county to be involved in the sewage thing, they're just gonna do it privately themselves, and that would help clean up that kind of thing, but I think that 1.1 would be the best one to say, let's get moving on that, because that's going to help commerce, that's gonna help the expansion even of housing, so that's my two bits.
I'd like to
Okay,
add on to what Bill was saying with 1.1 to just extend it beyond just water to infrastructure. Just like our earlier discussion.
infrastructure and the evacuation road, would that be
I think
sufficient for
this
that
is-
area? No?
For 1.1, I was thinking about the infrastructure necessary to develop the lots, like the Hawaiian homelands in particular, to develop that into homes.
Because this is not, I believe this is not for Hawaiian homelands, this is the O'uli well, which I believe is, because the implementers is Bridgman Ainalea, so I think it's further south
Of that one.
of Kailapa subdivision, so I guess
Well, I care more about
Oh.
the
potable water infrastructure.
infrastructure for development of homes, Hawaiian island homes in particular.
But what's not here, if you're just doing that, is what Jojo was advocating for, and I think that we should probably put that in there.
Make it in the recommendation
Right.
letter.
Right, right, because that's a safety issue.
I know, I believe, there was a pig with when it was called the other name. Then that was Diane's mission about the potable water, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was successful to do it as a private homeowner landowner. So,
Yeah.
I always thought that this 1.1, because THHL was mentioned there, that that was the main focus. They're saying it's not, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because this is the Ainalea project, so that is above north of Puko.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
that. I didn't
yeah.
realize. It was
Yeah.
focused on THHL. Interesting.
It's related to Kailapa. I think they're pumping all the way over there.
Pump it all the way up there.
Because half of Kailapa is connected to Kohala Ranch, if I'm not mistaken, so,
Okay.
yeah. For water.
Anyway, so I was
Well,
suggesting
it's
that
still
infrastructure.
expensive
focus on
water.
other
I was
Very
gonna say, not cheap water.
Yeah. Thank you. So 1.1 with the additions or revisions of adding infrastructure. And then a new highlight or recommendation regarding the access evacuation, safety evacuation road for Kohala subdivision.
Okay, and evacuation was, had something we were, and I think I saw in the minutes of this, but we need to come back to the evacuation issue, which we never quite finished on. Because it was a hot topic in September for a very good reason.
Understood.
And it may be February, but there's still a very good reason that we need to get an evacuation plan in place, because they're really, I think, there just really isn't, a really coordinated plan. That's.
Go ahead, Pete.
I think we should be specific on 1.1, and the way it's worded, it's tied to Inalea. And we want to develop the infrastructure for the Kohala area, including Hawaiian Homes, and that might mean expanding the piping capacity and water resources, Mauka of Kohala for that whole area. This kind of worded specific to Kohala.
Specific to the Hawaiian Homes Kailapa subdivision? Or? Because you have Kauai
Yeah,
Village,
Kauai and Kauai area and Hawaiian Homes subdivision or
Kauai North,
Kauai
Kailapa.
North, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea to separate it from Bridge Island.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't have,
Just you, Pete?
just go.
Yeah, straight through. I'm in. Okay, moving forward to Puoko community, if any. That's Julia, she's not there right now, but. You can go ahead to Puoko community plan. 1.1,
I think we should, that's major for Puuko wildfires. And I'd keep that in there. And the other one would be 1.3. I think those are the two important things.
I wish Karen was here,
yeah,
because my recollection is. My recollection is that what they have now. At the end of Puuko, where the petroglyph area is, somehow
the
they got,
Mahalani.
yeah.
That's, excuse me, Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
that's open during the day now because there are blockages along Puuko Beach Drive, so. From Holo on the Fairmont side to Puuko Beach Drive at Paniao is open. It's a gravel road and it's two-wheel drive, so it's open a good part of the day. And they trade off. It would be easy to create, just to pave that and you'd have an access.
Yeah.
Emergency road.
Unless Manalani,
Huh?
unless Manalani Resort says no.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Like these little,
Well,
right?
Since the 1980s, when we were gonna connect Puuko, all the Puuko house lots to the Monolani sewage treatment plant, which was operating at 12% of capacity.
And they said no.
Well, it was expensive and the bureaucracy didn't move fast enough. So it's still a great idea.
Yeah, well, I think you should leave it in there because the bottom line is that the county would have some ability with the resort permits and all the rest, and you could say, if you want this one, you're gonna do that. You gotta keep it on the table.
Tit for tat, 2.1 approved.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wasn't that one
Sure.
point?
1.1?
1.3,
1.3.
so 1.1 and 1.3, but we
Okay.
didn't talk about the other.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Pete.
Excuse me, from an environmental standpoint, I just had to make the comment. We have watched a very significant degradation of the reef off Puuko. And it's not the golf courses, it's cesspools. They go up and down with the tide.
Yeah.
we've always. I was a member of a subcommittee 30 years ago, and it was Kohala Bay and Pulico. Of course, Kohala Bay is covered with lava now, but it's sort of devastating to watch
Oh,
what happens to the
absolutely.
reef there.
And Robbie Robertson
Yeah.
was from
Yeah.
way back,
Way
way
back
back,
when.
you know, that, and there was a whole thing on cesspools, so it was not just there, it was, and it was gonna be, everybody was gonna talk it because there's problems with them elsewhere, and
Sorry to digress, Chair.
Go ahead. It's okay.
I'm done digressing.
Okay. If no other further comment, is it okay that we continue
Wait,
with the?
I have
Go ahead, Bill.
one more comment, and that is that if you're looking at that, then 2.1 is what you're commenting on, right? Should we actually include that in there? I mean, I realize that Karen said that they were gonna try to do some private things and all that, but you know, private means you still gotta be hooking up the public somewhere. So maybe we should leave 2.1 in there for Karen to say next time she doesn't want it in there.
yeah.
Okay. Understood. Any more discussion from the committee? Chair, no more further discussion. So the planning committee, question, Miriam, is that you folks will prepare a draft based on what we just had, highlighting the revisions we have mentioned. Okay, and that would come out when? Before the April 1st deadline.
Yeah, it needs to be before, submitted before April. So maybe if planning department can draft the letter based on tonight's comments and then send it to chair, so chair can review.
And then chair will.
And then,
Sign.
yeah, chair can e-sign, reviewing
Okay,
e-sign,
okay.
and then planning department can
Perfect.
send it to the planning director.
And that won't be sent to the rest of the action. committee?
Oh, it will. Oh, it will.
Yeah.
Just check.
Yeah.
Share.
Everyone will get a.
Just check.
Once it's signed.
I mean, not that I don't trust you completely, however,
It's okay.
it's a lot
Just
to
about it.
capture. It's a lot to capture.
Yeah. Okay, moving on the.
I'm
oh,
so
go
sorry,
ahead.
Chair, if I
No.
can interject. So there's a motion on the floor to submit the letter to the planning department with the comments discussed tonight. So I think we just need to call for the vote.
Okay, is there,
All those in favor?
all those in favor in the letter of recommendation, say aye.
Bye.
Any opposed, Julia? Oh, thank you. No opposition, so motion carries. Okay. Moving forward on the agenda, business item 2, overview of CDP Action Committee purpose and South Kohala CDP implementation priorities for 2024. Do I open the floor for comment, public comment? Is there anybody that wishes to make a public comment regarding the second order of business on the agenda? Hearing none, then,
What is the implementation of priorities? I fail to understand what it means.
So planning will do a presentation to do a little refresher on the CDP document and then bring forth examples of implementation projects that the committee would focus on for this year and then have a discussion, see what the committee decides on accomplishing for 2024. It's kind of the goal.
So I have a comment about land use and stuff like that. Since this is a committee on development and stuff like that. Can properties that are historic be granted historic property designations, so developers don't seize the land and overdevelop it?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. Bill, would you have any?
Well, I think, well,
Well,
I think we're not,
Yeah.
Oh, I
we're
see.
in the planning department, but we're not involved in zoning or subdivisions or any approvals or anything like that. So we can ask the planning staff if they know the answer.
But if you designate a property historic, then like a Anna Ranch or something like that, right? If it's designated historic, that means a developer can come in and bulldoze the whole property and build 10 houses over there.
Anybody familiar with?
No, excuse me, sir, so actually, this is just the time to give public comment. It's not a time for the audience to ask questions of the staff.
That's a
You-
comment. Can it be?
Okay, but it sounds like a question, and so the committee is unable to answer that question. You have 3 minutes to give your public testimony on the agenda item, and then we have to move on to actual discussion. So perhaps if you wanna ask the planning staff after the meeting, your more direct questions, they might be able to help you. But we're just gonna give you your 3 minutes to provide
Okay,
public
Okay,
comment.
let me take my time then. How about, getting the county council to reduce recurring costs, such as mowing the easements on the side of the road. So if we can reduce those costs, and, and not have to pay retirement and salaries to keep on maintaining the sides of the road, we can use those monies for other things.
Okay, I understand your comment.
And Chair, I had a
Michael?
question or
Okay.
comment, Michael Conowitz. Because the planning presentation wasn't in the board packet, could we hold comment until we see this presentation?
There's another
You
question.
can wait to ask for public testimony so long as it's given before the committee makes any action on this agenda item.
Okay,
So if Miriam wants to proceed, if there's no other public comment, planning department can give a presentation. I don't know that there's actually something to submit in the board packet, but I'll defer to planning department, and then after the presentation, you can reopen it up for public comment.
Okay, understood.
They're gonna do a presentation right now?
Yes, according to the
Okay,
agenda.
all right,
Okay.
I got it.
Thank you all. I'm just gonna take a minute here to make sure I'm sharing screen with um, everybody online as well. Also for you all. That's not. Okay, thank you all for having me here. We have less than a half an hour left in our meeting. So I'm gonna go through this very briefly. The goal is to kind of give us all a refresher and to help us focus our conversations on the CDP document. We're the Community Development Plan Action Committee. We're supposed to be implementing what's in this document that was released in 2008. So I'm just kind of helping and going around the different ACs to kind of bring that conversation and root us back into our document to kind of give us, that standing. So, I'll know for us, for South Falls specifically, mostly holdovers. So if anything, this is for Scott. I don't know what kind of orientation you have. I know through COVID, through planning department staffing, there's been a bit of a roller coaster here. So we're coming out of COVID, we've got some staff. So we're kind of trying to revitalize these committees and having something to show come December of this year. Okay, so very briefly, our purpose to be proactive, community-based stewards and of the implementation and updating of the CDP, provide ongoing input and advocacy to advance implementation of the CDP goals, objectives, policies, and actions. Brief breakdown of our different roles here. Planning department, administrative support primarily. We're posting the agendas, we're updating the social media channels, the listservs, correspondence. We're helping be liaison between government agencies. Also just helping the committee themselves facilitate and seeing how we can step in, becoming a resources planning and with the community. AC chair. Opening all of the meetings, maintaining order, clarity of the process and actions, and proper decorum. Reviewing all matters properly brought before the committee, calling for votes upon the same and announce the results. And authenticate by signature all acts of the committee as may be required by law. Just what we kind of went through just now. AC members as a whole, regularly attending the meetings would be fantastic. Develop priorities and a work plan to implement the community actions in the CDP. Develop partnerships with individuals, nonprofits, businesses, and community groups, associations to implement CDP policies and actions. Transmit project updates and involvement opportunities regularly to their CDP region. Intentionally and explicitly engage all factions of their community with specific attention to those who are marginalized and underrepresented. We're looking for an investment of a minimum of 8 hours of work each month on advancing CDP implementation through priority projects and initiatives. Please feel free to, AC, to chime in with any questions as I go. Okay.
I've proposed in the past that the county provide some budget to the action committees for the purpose of doing those activities, such as being able to rent a meeting room or to have a place where we could have a community meeting to gather input or communicate to the communities that we are in. I'd like to reiterate that request. I'd like the county to support the action committees with a small budget to help us engage in those activities, please.
Thank you, Bevan. Noted, it'll be reflected. I'm hearing you. As a reminder, because we are a county committee, we follow sunshine. Sunshine, by many, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this was, let me get that out of here. Sunshine, tends to be considered the bad guy in a lot of these conversations as a barrier. But I just want the committee to remember, sunshine, is all about, transparency and with the government between the community. Kara, correct me if I'm overstepping, but that's the goal, to be transparent with the community. So although it does seem to like limit us in certain pathways, it's for the greater good. Just calling that out. And also calling out how we tend to follow a modified version of Robert's Rules of Order. We only have 2 hours. South Kohala meets every other month. That's a very small amount of time to be making decisions on actions as a committee as a whole. So it may come off as not community centric, but it's helpful in keeping us on track with the agenda, making sure that we're actually going through our different objectives and helping us reach that goal. Here's the plan. Here's the cover page of that lovely document. My understanding you've all been given a hard copy. The links for the document are online. General breakdown, purpose and objectives. I think we all kind of know this. I'd like to highlight the bottom, the focusing on action at the bottom. Ergo Action Committee. First 2 chapters, background information and context of the region. Chapter 3, district-wide policies. So looking at emergency preparedness, environmental stewardship, preserving culture, sense of place, transportation. Chapters 4 through 7 each highlight and are focused on the individual larger areas, Waimea, Waikoloa, Kauai High, Puako, narrowing in on those areas, still in a regional mindset. And then we have chapter 8, which is this implementation matrix that we've all been working through tonight, which has been great foundation for the rest of our conversation. The last 10 minutes of our meeting. And then chapter 9, a nice monitoring plan. So just a little reminder of how it works. I'd like to have us focus the last moments of this meeting on chapter 8 and this matrix. I know we did a nice run through. This is really helpful. I'm new to these committees. My team is even more new. So having this historical context of what you guys kind of went through was very helpful for us, and hopefully, we can keep up going on the conversation. So basically, my goal is, I'm seeing that this document is pretty hefty. There's a lot to do. There's so many ways that we can do it, and that type of vagueness And abstractness can make it very hard to accomplish anything because there's so many turns that we could take. My goal, at least for tonight and for 2024, is have us focus in on one issue. See if we can narrow in on it, see if we can piecemeal it out. See and designate what work we're doing outside of the committee, what decisions we're bringing to the committee to make. It's my dream. So what I had the team do is we kind of broke down this matrix, took one strategy action item out of each area, came up with a very generic, very fluffy idea of how to go about it, just to get the conversation going and seeing if anything calls out to any of you guys to see if there's, no, we don't like that one, we like this one. However the conversation goes, but to see if we can narrow in on 2 items that this becomes what we're doing for 2024. So starting off, our first example was Puako. We chose as an example 1.1, the fuel break. Obviously, this comes with conversations of the fires. There's even other conversations within DOT about doing some sort of fire break work along Queen K. So I'm not too privy to those conversations. This is something planning, or you guys can help us try to make those connections to see what that conversation is actually happening, seeing if this is something that we want to pursue for 2024. Again, stop me at any time. I'm just running through this so we can get to the actual discussion part of this. The next one is Waikoloa. Waikoloa, one of the items is finance and construct a community center and community park. Maybe we partner with Parks and Rec, see what they have going. Obviously, this would involve maybe DPW, pursue support with county council, options. These are all figures from the CDP. These are the old maps. Quite high. This is a little, I mean, we started off with the idea of strategy number 2.1, move forward with feasibility studies to examine alternative strategies to improve marine water quality along the coast. Now, while I personally don't recommend that we pursue feasibility studies, I think the first step in something like this could be to partner with South Kohala Coastal Partnership. I know also in their coastal action plan, they've also listed places like Pelicane Bay as strategy action items that they're interested in, seeing what have they done so far. How can we partner with them? What gaps do they need? I also, at this point, I see that a lot of what is in the CDP needs a little bit of financing. And so seeing what even the CDP team, as young as we are in this environment, can bring in some work to see what kind of partnerships and finances we could even bring in to help support already going measures. So that's where you'll see here, Kohala Urban and Community Forestry Program. That's a state program. They offer grants. See what South Kohala is doing, see what, my understanding is a lot of this is erosion control, ungulates, all that kind of, see where we could fit in. And something similar going for Waimea, walkways and bikeways, and I believe Uncle Pete spoke about this, or one of you guys did earlier, but maybe even it's to kind of take that as a starting point and look at other things like the trail that's kind of being pushed forward also. And again, maybe tapping into that forestry money, seeing how we can help with even in the littlest things, trees, I don't know. What can we bring in? This is a starting point. There's a lot to go from here, and it's really dependent on what you as individuals see in this CDP of yourselves pursuing. So we have 15 minutes left. Kevin.
So my comment is going to be a curveball, of course. I am interested in how the CDP is going to be incorporated into the general plan and the process for updating the CDP. Because as Ruth has pointed out, she helped draft it some time ago. And some things.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, right. And some things, for example, like the entire resort area is missing.
Absolutely.
Right? And PTA is missing. Right. And so there And some of the priorities we have, some things have changed along the time in time. So I'd like to start with that question.
Your question is, when are we updating the CDPs? Was
And
that
how
the
is it
point?
being incorporated?
How
into
was
the
that
general plan?
only in the GP? GP questions, I would like to defer to the GP team that is not here today, but,
It's there.
huh?
It's there, because I made sure.
But sorry, the question is, sorry, that question specifically is it being incorporated by reference, as in the general plan includes the CDP, or is it being
I-
referred to as
I
like an
believe-
outside source? You could ask them and just email.
I believe in terms of the only notion of the CDP is in that implementation section at the very end of the GP. That let's see if I can pull up something here.
Oh, man, it's not.
I'm sorry, I'm, maybe we should, the other part of the discussion might be more interesting for us, so maybe you could just let us know. But basically, the question is, you know, is the CDP considered, are the CDPs considered part of the general plan? Or are they separate documents that are just referenced by the general plan? That's my
They-
question for them. They can reply.
Yeah, that's something I can definitely know, and we'll have the team reach out. We can have them respond to all of you, because that's appropriate. Yeah.
So yeah, then they're talking about updating.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment.
Please.
The thing that stuck out most to me was the partnership things that you mentioned there. Not necessarily the goals, but I like that you put partners. And I would like to see that those partners be more of a part of any decision.
Absolutely.
Like the Waikoloa Association. We had the Waikoloa initiatives right there. I don't know if they've been given those to have a comment or to say, oh, we need this more, or we need that more, or we don't need that so much. Why man, and each of these areas, when they all have their associations, their individual associations. And I think those people should be involved in this process and have a voice in that. So I don't know if the action committee is here to facilitate that, or if that everybody has their own channels.
I think, could I answer? I think the last time we had discussion, as we met in December, we kind of discussed the operations of Kira coming on board and new administration on how we get things in action, in motion, with the pigs being created, and that's how the subcommittees would be divided. And once they're ready to give a report, that they could bring those entities or partnerships or those association representatives to come and do that, to be part of that report. Is that what you're kind of asking? It's kind of.
Because I mean, like, his traffic safety, should be having us, I don't know, partnership, at least some kind of a partnership.
But there's nothing in writing that demands or says it has to be done. I think it's part of the subcommittees to make it a priority. But that subcommittee would have to say, okay, I'm Waikoloa, I created, I'm gonna bring councilman persons to make the report. Is that kind of like as a partnership? Because I think it's too much of a broad scope that we would have. I mean, it's too much work for me. It's more than 8 hours if you ask me that, you know, so that way that subcommittees would have to be kind of narrowed down into, but I hear what your comment is and I understand what your intention is behind what you're trying to express, but I think
Yeah.
the intention is the good way, because now with some structure with Kira here, putting things on the agenda and then creating the pigs and the subcommittees, I think we have kind of more direction to as what does the subcommittee accomplish? And part of that report, like how you guys did with the Firewise and how Tim gave before on the Lalamilo fire was very helpful. I think that was the most action we had with the letter of recommendation to the county to a post meeting with Julia and Ruth being a part of it. So I think it has to generate that way. But we cannot mandate anybody to come and give a report. I think it'll be the responsibility of the sole action committee individuals or individual to make the recommendation in their subcommittees when they're ready to do the report on their subject matter.
And Chair, I'd like to clarify also that a theme I've been seeing in the little time I've been involved with the ACs is that it's very easy to blur the lines between community planning and using this as a town hall and updating and newsletter type of meeting, as opposed to just liberating decisions to implement the community development plan. And so part of my interest in doing this little refresher is just to bring us back to this dated document, but there's still a lot of it that has not been accomplished and that we can pull from and twist and tweak to what is relevant to today and until there's a district-wide update, but to keep us away from just becoming a podium for updates is something that I just want to, I want to really have you guys keep that in mind when you're bringing in people to talk, because it's very easy to spend 2 hours on 1 or 2 presentations or in a Q&A.
Thank you, Miriam. Go ahead, Bill.
Can you put up what you had there, which you guys did for us and said, what are we gonna do this year? Which was really kind of pulling some things together. Yes, we had a number of items in here that we wanted to make sure were included, but no, oh, that's right.
This slide?
Yeah, under, I can't read it. You gotta make it
They're
bigger.
gonna go make it- they can make it big.
Okay. You've done us a favor in one man. By picking that, because I think that as long as we see that we're talking about walkways, bikeways, areas that are accessible other than vehicles. If we could expand that with the comments that Cindy Evans said about the riparian setbacks. I think that's very, very pertinent, because that's trails and greenways. And if there was something the county could work on to do that, then it would push Parker Ranch along and some of the other things that are happening, like that self-help program has a stream, the stream going right through the middle of it. And there's no issue that I know that the county could say, you have to not build this far away from it. And then it also provides an easement. So I think that's very apropos to be on the walkways in there. And I think that you're also looking at traffic safety.
So I'm kind of bring up this screen share.
You're looking at traffic safety, and I got a question as to the traffic safety committee. Is there, I think that a couple of other CDP action committees actually have that as part of their pigs. Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's not gonna be something that Waimea, with some transitions going on with that committee, shouldn't be incorporated somehow into the plan, because it's basically talking to the state, talking to the county, updating the community on what's going on. So it's a vehicle for that. But the one thing it's been lacking is a focus on what you wanted to achieve and push. So basically it was nice for information, but where's the advocacy? And I think the advocacy has to come through the action committee. So I'd like to see that, expand it a little bit and see if we can't figure out how to pull those resources that we already have together to do that.
Thank you, Bill. Kevin?
Following up on that, in my earlier comment about some kind of support for the action committees, so. If you think about how you might do something like this, you can do what some people are inclined to do and some people aren't, which is you can go to every other association and groups and whatever's meetings. You spend every night of every week or every month going to somebody else's meeting, trying to talk to them and say, hey, the action committee would like to do this thing. But it would be more effective if we could host our own meeting and invite those people to come to our meeting where we talk about that subject and we
Right.
talk about how can those different associations and groups collaborate and do the work? Because ultimately, what the way this is designed is not that the county does it, or not that we individually do it. It's that we work with other groups and developers and whoever and get them to do it. Right, that's kind of how this thing is designed. And so I always felt kind of like ineffective not being able to say, come to my meeting. Right? So and maybe that's, my personality or something, but I think that would be a big enabler for being able to pursue some of these initiatives with, the groups that you had suggested would be able to have our own, obviously not, following the sunshine law thing, because I like the sunshine law. But, one or two of us can get together and have a meeting and have, organized and recorded or whatever, and invite people in and get them to come and talk about it and make some progress. That's what I would suggest. And we can, a good idea, Miriam, I like your idea, is that at these meetings, we can pick one or two topics. And we can brainstorm together about who to invite and who to include and who are the committees and groups and developers that we should invite to those meetings and plan them out. And then have a more, I don't know, more is not the right word, but then at least we would be doing some action.
I like the idea, Kevin. Thank you. And being that I'm the new chair, that would help if everybody would communicate in advance to add that to the agenda. Because if the chair doesn't have knowledge of somebody's intentions, and I think it needs to start there. I don't have much of your guys' communication. I mean, I do have it from Ruth now, but I think prior to this, there wasn't any something to keep us accountable to do that. But I'd like that intention in regarding to making action, making something happen, because right now as an advisory board, we kind of seem so stagnant.
You want us to be an action committee?
Trying to accomplish the 2024 goals. But anyways, yeah, so thank you for your comment, because I really because that's how it's supposed to be done with the subcommittees, right? But giving the, I guess, avenue for those individuals to bring them here. We're learning. Do I open the floor for public comment? If no other comment, I'll go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted to say, considering we have 4 minutes left on the clock, are there any items, strategies, or actions that we would want to definitely work on, or even just to talk about more further at our next meeting? Maybe that's it.
I think we should open it to public comment first, because that could affect some members.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Michael Conowitz, just a quick thing. As you set your priorities, it would be helpful to reestablish the baseline. And I would start with the map. So if part of the 2024 objectives would be to update the maps to reflect more of the reality that's out there, like the Waikoloa area is completely different. The reality of what is today is very different from what the 2008 map showed. So it would be helpful for this action committee to update this map so we're all working from the same baseline.
Thank you, Michael. Do we make the recommendation for that?
Yeah, I make a motion that we ask for those to be
Updated?
updated.
I second that.
Bill made the motion, second by Ruth, to provide the updated map.
So
To update the maps.
Yeah, to update the maps in the
are
Kohala.
we asking planning to do it?
Yes.
Or
We don't have access to that kind of
Just
stuff.
for, excuse me here, for the South Kohala CDP plan
Yes,
of 2008, update those
I'll
maps.
see.
Okay,
update the maps in these districts, in particular to those 4 areas. So it can reflect what's not done and what's currently done, and to review.
Like put in the whole Waikoloa Plaza,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Or you can
Now,
say
the
with
maps in the CDP are a little hand-drawn style,
Mhm.
an appropriate, like a GIS map, is that an appropriate, is that okay? I don't want.
anything is
With
accurate,
these, we can include different
with the
things
developments.
with the
Yeah.
developments, but just.
not so much specific accuracy, but just to delineate what is there at the present time.
It's just, it has a bit of a style to it. I just want to
Yeah,
clarify.
just
We're
like
not gonna- we're not gonna totally follow that style, but we'll do something similar
That's user
with our
friendly.
GIS. Yeah, okay.
It's good to
Will do.
understand.
Okay, that's something we can look into. Yeah.
Cindy has a, I love.
I just, thank you. I wanted to comment that the North Kohala CDP folks stopped by and talked to me this afternoon, and one of the things they did is they decided to break into certain people looking at the general plan and the written pieces of it. And then another group broke out and looked at the LUPAG maps. And what they were deciding is there were certain pieces of property on the map that they're going to propose that from rural, it should be changed to urban, and urban to change to rural. And so I don't know if this is something this group would want to look at, is if they want to weigh in on the zoning and the map, what should be urban, rural, open space. If that's an exercise you want to do, I just wanted to share with you, they're doing that. The other thing that they do is they do, working with Zendo, Kern, they got permission to do what you may call permitted interaction groups, but they've turned them into these kind of subcommittees that meet once a month between their monthly meeting. They focus on certain areas. One group does roads, another group does public access, another group does utilities, another group does parks, but at least they have these kind of little mini groups with a chair that kind of does a focus area. And then when they get together, like you're doing tonight, they kind of roll it all up and get reports from those groups on things that they've really zeroed in on. And then they have the conversation in the bigger group like you're doing tonight. So I just wanted to share that. And the only thing I didn't hear come up is mass transit and needing mass transit hubs potentially in Waikoloa and in Waimea, and the interconnection of mass transit. Just wanted to bring that up, but that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Chair, I don't think we called for the vote on Bill's motion.
Oh, I think we got distracted with, I guess, discussion.
No, we didn't get
Discussion.
distracted.
Okay, Bill made the motion to revise the maps and call for a vote. It was seconded by Ruth.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries to. That will be provided at the next meeting on the agenda item. Okay,
Is there any other
Public
public
comment?
statement? Yeah.
any other public comment? Hearing none. Anybody on Zoom? No? Go ahead, Kevin.
Now you asked the question if you wanted to say pick one. Oh, it's just one of the various different actions from the plan to discuss at the next meeting.
I agree. Because of the time constraint, I think that would be wise for us to move it to the next, if we go back and pick one.
Anybody have a suggestion for one that would be interesting to discuss at the next meeting in this way that Miriam suggested?
I think we could have.
This one, I would love it to be the second.
To be
That's
all
right. That's a vested interest in the, and the reason is there is action that has happened there that, I don't know, would Waikoloa Heights come and make a presentation to us, or they're gonna ask us to bring our checkbooks?
I think Miriam's suggesting something different, which is to say that we talk about how we would go and engage with those folks outside of the meeting to get the actions, rather than having them come here to this meeting.
Mhm.
I think that, even for the future goal, I know we didn't put it part of this meeting agenda because of timeliness. But I think we should take what we've learned from the presentation and kind of single out as an individual, see what you want to bring to the next meeting agenda and have the discussion there and provide your number one priority, I think. Because eventually we still have to work on our priorities list that we have outstanding, which is the subcommittees that was created back then. So that's gonna go to the next agenda, actually, that's our next meeting agenda. I think that would be helpful then to minimize or go towards one sole topic. But we do like the idea for where the general planning, the planning you are, I'm trying to accomplish in 2024. But I think we don't have enough time today to discuss that, because I don't want to force somebody to pick one and we only get 2 seconds. Go ahead,
We'll
Peter.
discuss it at the next meeting. So
Yeah, Yeah.
15 seconds.
Go ahead.
Could I suggest that we go through our matrix where we decided what to say in our letter and then establish the priorities all the way down the list? And then talk about individuals or pairs who would be willing to be mini task forces. I guess we're gonna call them pigs.
Just because that's on the, and that will be a
Yeah.
future agenda. We didn't add it on this agenda for the subcommittees because we wanted to make sure we rerouted the understanding of our intent of the action committee's purpose.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is on our future agenda. Any other discussion?
Go ahead.
How do I get the second access road to be focused?
You have to wait.
Well, I'm just saying, in South Kohala, that's really, I mean, I'm not just speaking for Michael, it's one of the major things that's hanging out there, you know. That and whatever, and I don't know what the timeline is at all on the extension of the Daniel Fagnally is. Those two are very parallel and but either or would really benefit South Kohala. But I don't know. I don't know how other people feel about that, so I'm gonna hush.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. Understood. Should we move on to the next agenda or postpone that agenda item to the next meeting? Because it's 7:05.
Because of time, maybe it's something that the committee can take home and choose, kind of sit on it and then maybe email chair planning and with their decision, and that's just something that we can use to create the agenda for our next. Kind of related to item 5.
Thank you.
Last time we talked about the fact that you were gonna develop a schedule that had people's names and contact information and stuff.
Yeah, the
For us.
contact information and for you guys too. So I made one on my own that's generic. Ruth and I helped, we kind of communicate together and I met at Ruth's house. But if you guys were able to
Bobby.
do, put one together as a directory for the action
You guys want
committee,
an updated draft?
current one.
Yeah, I thought that's what you guys were gonna do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We also have, but go to share this the next agenda item anyways.
Okay, proposed new meeting schedule.
Yeah.
Now, what is that?
So what we have
I'm
is,
nervous.
let me pull it up. The dates are, and this can get emailed out with that directory. We have April 22, June 24, August 26, October 28, December 9. These are all Mondays.
Because the only one we didn't set the last time was the December one, correct?
I'm sorry, say it again.
The only one that's corresponding with what I've written in here for this, but I'm still on a school calendar. So it ends in June.
Yeah.
But the only one we hadn't picked at the last meeting was the
The
December.
December, because it
Okay.
was. around
Well,
Christmas.
right, 'cause we couldn't figure, well, we weren't gonna to have a meeting at Christmas or something.
So December
Oh, wait,
9 is
I
what
did
we
have-
landed on.
Okay, we make a motion to accept the proposed dates.
So,
Oh,
so
yeah. Oh,
just to be clear, this is different from the dates that were proposed at the December meeting, right?
There were some changes due to holidays that we found, I
Okay.
believe is what
So
happened.
is everybody
Hold on.
clear on the dates?
Hold on.
Can you repeat them, please?
Yes, absolutely. I have April 22, June 24, August 26, October 28, December 9.
All from.
Yeah, that's all the same. That's all the same. The
That's
only thing I'm just looking at what's in, I do have the 2024 thing here into November and stuff, and I haven't written in there. So they're all the same, except we just hadn't, and we even had mentioned 9. But there's what question mark there, so that's confirmed. So this is exactly. This
yeah,
is
'cause
exactly,
originally, according to the minutes of December 20th meeting, it was the 12/16, so that's been amended to 12/9.
Okay.
Yeah. but the rest of them are the same.
Yes.
Chair, the public trust.
Yeah, so I guess it's the only thing that's changing is December 16th through December 9th.
Okay.
I'll share this.
Are you
Um,
offering public?
Public
Testimony?
yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Go ahead,
Just
James.
James Eustace on, live here in Waimea. My recommendation is since you do meet every other month, my recommendation is that you have your PIGs meet in those off months. Just so you can, have something to discuss, figure out, and then just be able to present at the next meeting. And then as kind of some previous discussion, and I said past AC meetings, years ago when I've attended, you do have presenters that are speaking on these topics that would come to those meetings that are helping you implement the plan. There's groups in the community already doing work. So it is good to have those interactions, whether it's at your PIGs, whether it's at your regular AC meetings. There really is that value to working with members in the community that are doing similar work that you all collaborate with already, but it kind of needs to be in this room, in this frame where you're working with them. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Well, that's kind of what I mentioned, inviting them to come share with us. I thought maybe we might have, I'd love to know what they found out in the feasibility study. He blinks his eyes. Okay.
And Kendall Kern to come and be present. Anyways, any other public comment? Seeing and hearing none.
Along with the meeting schedule, planning has a request if anybody has venues. South Kohala is a particularly difficult district for us as we only have the Waimea Community Center as a county facility. So in Waikoloa, Puako, Waihae, if anybody has any recommendations.
Judging with the number of people that are here, you might be able to fit into Waimea Preservation Association,
Okay,
which is now remote testimony. And it's a county building, and it could work in there. It's gonna be a little more compact, but that's an option if you need it.
that's by the post office? Is that
Yeah.
where-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've been
Yeah.
we've spoken with them. We
And
like outside venues also, not outdoors, outside of Waimea area.
Yeah.
That seems to be the
Yeah,
most
there's
plentiful
nothing
to us.
county and like.
well, you also have the senior center over there, but I don't know what the rules are for meeting in there. The old courthouse.
We used to
And the
use that
seniors are not
location
gonna be
before.
there at this time.
Diane was
It's
there.
quite roomy too.
Yeah,
County building.
and we've had CDP meetings there before.
Mhm.
Right, where's that?
Waimea Senior Center right next to the preservation.
Oh, yeah,
Behind the arch.
yeah, why not?
Yeah, no, I just should start using it again. We did that regularly there.
Yeah.
The old courthouse.
Julia's recommending Waikoloa Village Association Ohana Room.
Yeah.
That's
That's
another,
very roomy.
so that we can get, some presence across the district would be nice. Just something to keep in mind.
We could use,
No more, nothing.
Not
we've
really.
never had a meeting.
Yeah,
There's no facility.
It's not a beach.
State Park.
Well,
If you want to come to,
Spencer Pavilion.
right?
yeah, sir,
We have met at the open,
church.
The
church.
church,
We
yeah.
have,
Cool.
we have.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
past.
so
We've
church.
met down there at the Puko
If
Church.
anybody has a connect there, I believe we've tried to reach out to them.
Karen,
I think
was the
Karen-
contact.
Yeah, Karen has all the contacts in Puko.
That's a good meeting venue.
Yeah, yeah, we've used it before.
They even let sinners in
They do.
for those meetings.
Yeah.
Do we make a motion to adjourn? I mean, geez.
There's no further discussion. I mean,
Sorry, Chair.
go ahead. Bill makes a motion to adjourn,
Yes.
Second.
second by Pete. Motion,
Sorry,
oh, never mind.
there was a motion to accept the meeting schedule.
Oh, was there a motion? Who made that motion?
Bill did it.
Okay.
Well, that's
We
right,
need to
but
approve the
nobody
meeting schedule.
seconded it.
We actually don't have to.
We don't have to.
Have to, yeah.
Okay. so
It'll just be
just-
properly
They didn't listen.
agendized.
This is a tentative schedule.
Yeah.
So then, okay, good.
Yeah.
Then
So rude.
then we say aye.
Thank you. All those in favor to adjourn the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you very much. See you in April 22nd.
Yeah.
I had to go to the one all over.
Oh, no, that's yours.
I'm so excited.
April 22. June 20.
Yeah.
28. And then December. And if you fill out our sign up sheet and you get to the listserv.
It might be, and there was the discussion in the mayor's office, and we're talking about it.
This is what you get to.
Starting the highway.
So you can run back.
It shows on all the boards and commission website, and they're trying to get started.
Are you applying for?
And I don't, that's where that committee kind of got some of its authority as well.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, that's how much, how, what the hell I wrote to the plans.